All right, welcome into the Big Hitters Only podcast. We have Bryn Renner, former UNC quarterback, former NFL quarterback, new voice of Tar Heels, here at He's Not, recording on Friday, August 23rd. What's up, Bryn?
Ross, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Make sure we're talking to the mics here. Super casual. We had some technical difficulties, which is becoming the norm for this podcast. But first of all, congrats on the job.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
What went into that?
Yeah, it was honestly, it was a great process, to be honest. I've been away from the game for 3 years. I was at FIU for 5 with Butch, in a variety of different roles, director of recruiting for all 5 years, and I coached the DBs and I coached the quarterbacks, and we got let go in 2021, and I took a different journey in life, and I got out of football, and I love what I do now. I work for a great company in KO Discovery.
There we go. Yeah.
And work for a great company called KO Discovery, and I love my job, and it allowed me to have the weekends opportunity to do this. And Chuck Schroeder and Jones were great. Had a couple of meetings with them, and very fortunate that they thought I could do the job. So we'll see.
Yeah, I love it, man. It's awesome. I like to be the voice of the Tar Heels, the team you played for, to come back and be in an analyst role. It's awesome. We're going to talk about the 2024 Tar Heels now. Get into another preview episode following the show with Mike and Julian, the first episode. This is our second episode here. Let's get right into it. Initially, like when you just kind of step back and you look at this team, what are some initial thoughts you have? And we'll get into we're going to do a lot of offense, a lot of quarterback talk, a lot of Chip Lindsey offense. But initially, what are your takes right now, less than a week from kickoff?
Well, I think it's a huge opportunity for us, right? You can't replace Sam Howell and you can't replace Drake May. So someone's going to have to fill those roles. I did a study, and obviously Drake, contributed to almost 85 to 90% of the offense last year. Amarion had a great year, and I think they played hand in hand with each other. But what I'm excited about is who's going to step up. And there's guys in the locker room that we don't even know about. Mm-hmm. So I was one of those guys at one point where everyone thought who's going to replace TJ Yates, and I was the next guy up. So
yeah, let's do this here. We got to get Mike. We got to get turn your body a little bit.
Okay,
there you go. And then you're looking at me, and then you're talking to Mike.
Yeah,
perfect. I'll do this.
So what do you?
By the way, guys. First of all, let's promote. He's not. They're the unofficial sponsor.
Cheers.
Yeah, Friday afternoon. He's an unofficial sponsor. We're trying to get the audio all figured out here. All right, continue. Sorry.
Best place on earth, by the way.
Right.
Best place. Yeah, I think it's a huge opportunity for a lot of guys, right?
Okay.
So I think young guys have to step up, and honestly, Max and Connor got to step up, and someone's got to take the lead. We need a leader in the locker room, and I think Amarion's going to be a really good back, but my fear is they're going to put 8 in the box, and someone's going to have to throw it on a 3rd and 6. And obviously we're looking for all positions to step up, but I think that's where it starts for me is who is the guy that's going to have to go make a play when a play is needed. And we had a really good one of the best quarterbacks to ever play here in Drake, and he moved on. So a lot of guys have opportunities. So I'm just excited for who's going to step up.
It feels like there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of with Drake and Sam, there were very high expectations.
Sure.
And now they're entering a season where the schedule is not hard, but I don't think fans are expecting some magical run.
Right.
So like you said, there's a lot of players who can step into big roles and make big plays. I don't think a lot of people know who's at wide receiver behind, J.J. Jones and guys that made plays last year because Tez is gone. Josh Downs has been gone now for 2 seasons.
Yep.
And there's a new quarterback there. Mm-hmm. And we don't have the insurance of a Sam Howell or a Drake May. And you said, who can make a play on 3rd and 6? What do you think about quarterback right now? Coming off a Friday press conference when Mac Brown said they might end up playing 2. You've seen these guys a little bit. You've talked with Max Johnson.
Yep.
What do you like at quarterback? What do you see at quarterback? How do you think it kind of plays out over the first couple games? Because I think it's going to change. I think it's going to evolve.
I think it's too. Yeah. And we talked about this, via text when Max said that. I think we were all shocked at the initial response. And
because it's a saying, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none, right?
Sure. And I think it's, there's a little bit of tactical warfare in this, right? It's like playing poker. You have no idea what I have, and I have no idea what you have, but we have to go all in. And so we're going to see, once we go all in, who's going to start and who's going to play the game. And I can see it both ways. From the coach's perspective, you don't want to show your hand and say, hey, Max Johnson's the guy or Connor's the guy, just because that gives, teams an extra couple of days to prepare. So that's the tactical approach. And I think, obviously the fan approach is we want one guy to start. And football's really not designed like that. And I've been a backup and I've been a starter. I've been the guy who's on the practice squad. And if you look at the makeup of quarterback now, you're going to have 2 to play throughout the year.
In terms of injuries.
In terms of injuries, poor play.
Yeah.
You get down in the game. It's late in the game, and the guy has success. I mean, I've been on all ends. I've been bench, cut, and started for 4 years. So it's a range of emotions. So I understand where Mac's coming from. But if I was the quarterback and I've been in that situation, TJ and I competed all the way up to the LSU game. And Butch pulled us in and said, hey, you both are going to play. And if you guys remember, so I was set to go in against LSU.
Because of poor play?
After 2 drives, I was warming up, and I'm like, hey, you're going in next series, no matter what happens. TJ throws a 96-yard pass to Jaharney Boyd, and then plays the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And shout out to TJ. He's one of my best friends and had a career year.
Yeah.
And really, like, set himself up to be a 4th-round draft pick and play with the Texans and play for 7 seasons. And we talk about it all the time. Like, he knew I was going in the next series, and I was a redshirt freshman. So I kind of have all those emotions, and just thinking about it with all those opportunities. But I think it's going to be exciting. So I know what Connor can do. I think he played decent against West Virginia, but somebody's got to step up and take the lead. And so I respect Mac, and obviously he's not going to tell the media everything, but we'll see who plays.
Do you think it's concerning that Mac on a Friday ahead of a Thursday game says something like, we're going to play both?
No, because I think the building knows.
Okay, they know who's going to start.
Yeah, I think football coaches are strangely protective.
Yeah,
and they don't covered him for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is. I mean, we have CEOs in business that give away a lot of things that are going on, and it's really kind of just one of those football coaches things that it's more by design than it is. I don't know. I can't call it. So,
and I wonder if saying that truly is like, all right, I mean, if Max can't do it after 2 or 3 series, we try Connor.
Yeah.
And if his running ability opens something up, because big thing with Mac in his press conference on Friday was like, they don't know what defense is really going to be run because it's a new coordinator.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of unknowns, and no one's sharing their depth chart.
Sure.
Which is a weird quirk.
Yep.
And so it's like, it is like a chess game, like a poker hand.
It is.
So I asked Mac today, is this to keep Minnesota on their toes? Like, so they have the game plan for a pocket passer like Max and a guy who can run like Connor. But also, what's funny is one guy is left-handed.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
It messes with your offensive line and your running backs when you have 2 quarterbacks you're trying to play, who one guy's a right-hander, I don't even know who's who, honestly. And that completely changes everything.
It does.
Where the wide receivers go too, right?
Sure. And
so this guy's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and as I think about it, Connor has game film, right? So what they're going to watch is West Virginia from last season.
Yeah, with Chip Lindsey's offense.
And kind of be able to game plan off that. And then it just allows more film work from their perspective, because they're probably going to watch a little bit of Max at LSU and a little bit of Max at Texas A&M if they're smart. And then they're kind of like, okay, how can we mirror that up with what they're going to be this year? Because they have a really good back. I mean, they have an all-American back, so you got to stop him first. Yeah. And then make the quarterback beat you. If I was game planning against us, I'm being honest. And everybody would probably say the same thing. Stop the back first and see what Max or Connor has. And then with the defensive coordinator from Minnesota coming from Rutgers, he's coming from a Greg Schiano scheme. And Butch Davis was best friends with Greg Schiano, so I know they're very similar defensively. So, and we played Rutgers back in 2011, and I threw 4 interceptions. You know why I threw 4 interceptions? It's because they blitzed cover 0 every single 3rd down. So there was a blitz package that was cover 0 where it's basically man-to-man, and they're bringing everybody. They're bringing more than you can protect with. And so if that's the defensive coordinator's MO, then Max is maybe, I don't know what an option Max would be, just get the ball out of his hands. So Connor provides that different element. Yeah. So you can go both ways, but it just provides a little bit more of studying for each coaching staff.
So quickly here, what does Max bring? And then I'll go right into Connor. Yeah. Quickly, we'll get a quarterback breakdown. Then I want to go into kind of the theme and the what this team's going to be on offense.
I think Max brings you a steadiness of reps. Yeah. He's played big-time football in big-time stadiums. I know his record is pretty decent in those games, and he threw for yards, and he played 2 SEC schools, and you got to go.
He was good in 21.
Yeah, he was very, very good. Yeah,
had a lot of touchdowns versus 6 interceptions.
Yeah, and he's very accurate. He's steady. I think the ball jumps off his hands at times. And he's a different player than Drake. These guys are going to be different than Sam and Drake.
Yeah.
Sam and Drake would explode for 12 and 15-yard runs and get first downs to extend drives. That's not Max.
Yeah.
And I think he kind of just brings that, hey, I've played a lot of football, and I'm not scared of a situation.
Almost like a security blanket. It's like, all right, he can manage a team.
Sure.
And with the good running back, like he adds the stability. It makes it very clear why they brought him in. Like
Absolutely.
We need somebody who can get out there and we feel good about giving us a chance.
That's exactly right. Give somebody the keys and make sure they'll get you from A to B.
Yeah.
And then I think Connor provides that different element of his feet. The game has changed where you have to extend plays at times, especially in the college game, because the offensive line, we'll probably touch on it, but it's pretty inexperienced from the start standpoint. You had a great text to me today, which was fantastic, and also a great tweet.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to provide the escapability to go make a play with his legs,
which is valuable in the college game.
Absolutely. Very much
I feel
so.
like you got to have a runner. Even the pros now. It seems like some of the best quarterbacks can at least get you that first down when it's 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So who do you think gets the first snap on Thursday?
It's going to be hard if I don't see Max trot out there.
I think it's Max's job to lose.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't know.
And I like the competition aspect.
Yeah, I do too. I think it provides, you both kids get pushed, right?
Yeah.
And they both have the spring ball, and Connor's earned the right to have a competition too.
For sure.
I think
he wasn't awful versus West Virginia.
No, I mean, he scored points at times, and I don't think we played very well defensively. Gave up some big plays, especially the first couple drives. So I think they both have opportunities to help us this year. So I hope they both get a chance to play, because I've been in both situations.
So, all right, identity of this offense.
Yeah.
We have UNC. I think I get out saying we. I'm used to saying UNC because I'm an unbiased journalist, but I keep saying we. I'm becoming more of a fan.
Yeah.
Amar Hampton, could be one of the better running backs in the country. Could be a first-round pick next year.
Yep.
Stud guy, carried UNC last year. Mm-hmm. The identity team is obviously going to be the run game. They have a good guy behind him and Darwin Barlow from USC.
Yep.
So you said at the beginning, a team puts 8 in the box.
Yep.
What's the identity of this team? And if they do put 8 in the box, how do you combat that? What's the strategy when they're bringing up linebackers, they're bringing up extra safety? What do you do when your strength is running the ball?
I had an opportunity to play golf with Chip Lindsey at Muirfield Village in Ohio, where they play the Memorial Golf Tournament.
Mm-hmm.
We spent 72 hours together, and it was awesome. Got to know him as a person. And to answer your question, I think he's going to do a really good job of understanding his talent level and who the playmakers are. And, when 8 guys come in the box, it's a run, play, action fest, which means I'm going to run the ball first.
Okay.
And then I'm going to run play action so guys can get open, because you're going to have to stop the running game. Omarion's going to get his 20 to 25 touches. And if it's a 3rd and 5 and 3rd and 6, like I mentioned, it's going to have to be a play action. It's going to have to something be off schedule, and really kind of force and manage guys to get open. A lot of rollouts. I think Max does a good job on the rollout plays, moving the pocket. You got to kind of find a different way to get guys open, especially early in the game, because they're going to be really pressed on trying to stop Amarion. But I think Chip's going to do a great job of navigating that. That's his background. He comes from a Gus Malzahn tree of coaching, which is really great. And they really run. They know the running game. I'm not going to give away all Chip's secrets,
of course,
but I was fired up when I was hearing about the running schemes, outside zone, inside zone. He understands it and he gets it. So I'm excited that he's our offense coordinator, and I think he's going to do a really good job.
Can you briefly explain a zone run scheme? Do we run a zone run scheme?
Yeah, we do. It's probably going to be there's a variation. So downhill inside zone, which is in between the center and 2 guards. If the viewers at home or whoever's watching this, the center is the middle and the 2 guards are right and left. So it's pretty much down the midline, and so we call it midline. So if you look at the center's butt crack, for lack of a better term, we're running it straight down the middle.
There's no pulls in that?
No pulls in zone schemes.
And then are you creating a track?
You're basically creating a multitude of double teams. So we're trying to double everybody and get to the next level with a huge push from the interior.
Okay.
And outside zone, we're really trying to force the ball towards the tackles. So if it goes center, 2 guards, and 2 tackles, we're really trying to go outside. So we're really the aiming point. And if you guys have ever looked at a starting 5 lineman, you just really kind of just look at their butts. And it's like A gap, B gaps, and C gaps.
Yep.
We're trying to go to the C gap, which is really off the right foot of the left tackle, or the left foot of the right tackle.
You're going to go outside
zone. So, and then it's really going to be a couple schemes of that, I would probably say. And then, and look, everybody's got little nuances that they've worked on. And like I said, I've never been to practice. I've never seen them, practice or anything like that. So I'm just taking guesses. But for the most part, everybody's schemes are pretty much the same.
Power is when you pull someone.
Power is when you
and we have Willie Lampkin, a very athletic, undersized guard who, and we have a pretty strong. Is it left side? We have like tons of weight on one side. This team's going to try to run. They're going to run Amarian and Darwin 30, 35 times. So you're going to want to establish a run to open up, play action, to open up some of these stud wide receivers and tight ends.
Yeah.
And that's going to start with establishing a run early in the first quarter, second quarter.
Yeah, and I think to piggyback on that, I don't want to go back on my career, but we had really good running backs. Like, I don't remember
Who were they?
So I got, when I was first here, it was like Anthony Elzey, and we had Sean Drawn.
Yep.
And we had Sean.
I was my former co-host.
Yeah. Sean was
on for a year on Inside Carolina's podcast.
And I'll never forget, he scored the game-winning touchdown in overtime against Tennessee on a toss play. And he was a stud back, and we really recruited running backs really, really well. And then you think about the Gio and Romar Morris and A.J. Blue days. Yep. We had a 3-back rotation that was lethal. I mean, Gio went for 1,000 yards 2 years in a row, was the first back taken 32nd overall.
Was he really first back?
First back taken in the 2013 year. Phenomenal 10 years.
Yeah.
Shout out to Gio. But
avid listener of the Big Hitters
avid listener. Now he will be after this text. I think you look at the running back play, like, we've always had good backs. Like, I mean, you think about Michael Carter. You think about those guys that
get on the mic.
Get on the mic. And then I think we've always had really good backs.
Javonte
Williams is still in the league. So you can get really good backs from North Carolina that run the ball really hard, and I think we can have 2 potential backs that are going to be really, really good.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think, all right, so if they, like you say, if they stack the box, the quarterback has to make some plays.
Sure.
And I think we do have some wide receivers. I just don't think there's a stud wide receiver on this roster. There's guys with experience, J.J. Jones, slot guy. It's Kobe Pacehour, other slot from Georgia Tech. Escapes my mind.
Starts with M.
Yeah, this is a bad look for both of us.
Bad.
But we have a lot of young guys. We have the tight ends, I think, going to be huge. Bryson Nesbitt, John Copenhaver. I think there are weapons. I'm looking for one guy to become that stud, like that guy who can either extend the field or always get open like a Josh Downs.
Sure.
And I think that we'll figure that out in the first couple games. I think that's what this team needs, because when you can't run the ball, you have to hit somebody for a first down, for a, deep. I mean, you'd love to have the deep play there, but thoughts on the wide receivers, thoughts on what we have in terms of the passing game outside of what the running backs bring?
I think the skill positions are going to be by committee. Yeah. And I think it's frustrating for fans. I know we all get frustrated. Like, I think about, having an X receiver, and the X receiver is just the outside guy that gets the ball the most time, like an Andre Johnson or a Calvin Johnson, Randy Moss. You're targeting that guy for a reason. And I think what's hard for everybody to understand is this year it might be different. It's like everyone's going to get the ball. The stat sheet might look like 4 catches for 50 yards. It might look like 6 catches for 100 from a committee. I think the backs can catch some balls. Yeah. Like, I think the kid from USC's got really good hands. I think Amarian can catch the ball in the backfield. So you're going to have to manufacture and really see who becomes a go-to guy. And I think about just, over the years, like, we didn't know Josh was going to be Josh.
Yeah.
But Josh started making plays, and that's what's so great about college football is, like, we're sitting here today, and we're going to find out in a week who's going to step up and make plays, which is really, really cool. And so those kids are chomping at the bit, and they worked so hard to, get to this point. So it's hard to say, and I love the tight end room. I think we have one of the best tight end rooms in the ACC.
Their experience, and Bryson Nesbitt can be that. He can be that kind of deep threat wide receiver in the red zone.
Yep.
Copenhaver's solid. He can be more of a blocking and a threat for short yardage. Mm-hmm. And then Lonnie Galloway has recruited really well. Yep. And I think there's a couple freshmen, redshirt freshmen, sophomores who we don't, the common fan doesn't know.
Sure. We
follow recruiting. Some of these names like Paul Billups, Chris Culver. One of those guys is going to emerge and supplant an older wide receiver.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of depth at wide receiver. I think there are, like you said, there are weapons. We just don't know exactly who's going to stand out and be that, like, the top 3, the top 4 guys.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Like you said, like, there's a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Any thoughts on defense?
Yeah, I think
it's a broad question. What are you looking for out of this defense? What do you want to see out of this defense against Minnesota?
I want to see the defensive line come to play. And by
he
that,
holds the mic. He talks deep into
by
it.
that I mean that is the anchor of any football team is the defensive line.
Have to have it,
and it is. You have to be a really, really good physical player to play defensive line. And I think we have guys that are willing to step up, but I want to see it. I talked to Jeff the other day, and he mentioned, how many starts and how many guys have been here for 3 or 4 years that we haven't heard about.
Yeah.
And we talked about, I love Des Evans. I thought he was going to be a really good player. I still do. I think he's primed for a really big year. And I think it's going to be great for, Jeff Collins to get his hands on him. A younger guy to kind of come in there and kick these guys in the rear and say, hey, we need to produce. I loved what he did in the spring. I think we got better. And so I think the defensive line controls that. If you can apply pressure to the quarterback and make him feel like he's getting blitzed every single time with a 4 or 5 man pressure, and then simulate some pressures in between and play some coverage behind him, I think you can be lethal. And obviously I'm biased because when I was here, we had Robert Quinn Copeles, Marvin Austin. We had literally the best defense. I had to score 14 points and we could win. Yeah. So do I think the college game has changed? Absolutely. But I would love for our defensive line to, hold a team for under 175 yards rushing.
Yeah,
right.
I would love for
things
them
like
to
that.
stop the run.
Yes.
Not have a team in the third and fourth quarter run all over us.
Yep.
And get some freaking sacks. Des Evans has 3 or 4 sacks for his career. We have Kamen Rucker. I mean, this is an area. I mean, I cover the team and I cover these guys' recruitment. It's like Travis Shaw. This is his year. Yeah. He has to step up. He needs to decide. I think I said this in another podcast. Mm-hmm. He needs to decide if he wants to be an NFL player. Yeah. And that obviously started in the offseason. Starts in January, February, March. But this guy, 6'5", came in with 340. He's probably 330 now. Long arms. He is a beast. They moved him to 3 technique. Yeah. He needs to have a big year. I would love him to play 40 snaps and Josh Harris play the 30 snaps. I want Travis Shaw to be the guy. You have Des Evans, you have Bo Atkinson. There's definitely bodies here, but it is kind of show up and make some plays. Yeah. You got to feel good. You definitely have some guys that you can trust. Sure. Kamen Rucker.
And we're pretty deep. Guys can sub in and make plays. Rucker's a really good player and secondary, you gotta make plays.
Briefly, before secondary, do you think Kamen Rucker's an NFL player?
I do. Yeah, I do.
6'1".
I think he's got something. I think he's got a spot. I think he plays with his hair on fire. I think he's had really good production. I do. I think he can play at the next level. I do.
Yeah, he's very productive.
Very productive, and I think that's if you produce, you're making tackles. You're around the ball. And when I was in the NFL, if they drafted guys and it's size really doesn't matter sometimes. It's about if you're around the ball and you make plays.
Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald's 6'1".
Yep.
Beast. Yep. Very tactical guy. Mm-hmm. So, I'm excited. Remember the South Carolina game last year?
I do.
9 sacks, 11 tackles for a loss. You're like, dude, this is going to be the year.
Yep, that's it.
I just want to see Des. I want to see Des Evans have a good year. 6'6", local guy down the road in Sanford.
I'm pulling for Des. I am.
He's built like an NFL defensive end that can sign those massive contracts.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So I'm pumped for that year. In the secondary, I think we have 2 lockdown corners, Elijah Hussey and Marcus Allen.
I love Hussey. I think
I'm pumped for those guys. I think that can really. I don't think we've had that in a long time.
No.
So I'm pumped for those 2 guys. I think there's some questions at safety. I think we have some guys back there, but not a standout, but by committee. And then I am concerned at linebacker. Mm-hmm. Especially both guys are 6 feet, and one guy's got a broken hand.
Yeah. Jeff made a good point last night.
Jeff Collins?
No.
Jeff Schottmer.
Jeff Schottmer. Linebackers so much physicality with your hands of the shedding process. Yeah. And for everyone who's listening, those guys are coming to get the second level defender, and you really have to use your hands to shed. And so it's going to be interesting, to see how that affects his play, and even wrapping up on a tackle. It's gonna be tough, and I imagine he's gonna have a shot before the game and be decently ready to go. Because I got a lot.
What is that shot? Is it pill shot? What is?
You want to talk about it? It's we used to call it the get you right energy.
Okay.
So I played an entire season with the broken ankle my first year starting, and no one knew.
Just take away the pain.
But it was just a good right pill. Whatever it is, good right shot, good right pill, and
varsity blues.
Yeah, pretty much just ibuprofen. Let's just say it's ibuprofen.
If that needle get anywhere close to his knee, I'm out.
It's enough to get you through 4 quarters.
Yeah, I love it.
In a season, whatever it takes.
Yeah, more of that.
Whatever it takes.
Okay, I think we've kind of gotten through the football talk, it's hard to talk about this team with so many unknowns.
Sure.
And having not seen it. We're going to hope to have Bryn on for 30 minutes every Monday.
I'm in.
On virtually on the internet. Hopefully before Monday Night Football, we're going to record a 30-minute, 45-minute show.
I'm fired.
Kind of like secondary breaking down the game, because we'll have a reaction show after every game with hopefully Mike and Julia and some other people, and then have Bryn on every Monday. You can kind of rant and kind of release kind of a therapy session.
I love that.
Yeah. You have 48 hours to decompress, so that'd be good. It would kind of be a rhythm.
I want to give you a shout out too.
Yeah,
you've been busting your tail like since I've known you, of covering the team and grinding so hard. And I've been following you since day one. And we all as Tar Heel fans really appreciate you. So let's give it up for Ross.
We have a huge crowd here watching us at Heasman. It's Friday afternoon. We have a bunch of students here watching us. I wish I personally, it's podcast, talk about what we want to talk about. I wish I had started getting into sports journalism after college.
Yeah.
Because I'm a couple years older than you. So I graduated in 2008, and I didn't start covering UNC until like 14, 15.
Right.
I moved to Chapel Hill when I was in 2015.
Yeah.
I wish I just majored in journalism, started covering a team or something, done DTH or done anything, and then I would have obviously would have covered you and.
Well, you picked it up, man.
I got really into it. 15.
I'm serious.
This podcast is gonna be fun. This was the medium I always thought I'd be better at, is radio and podcasting. Writing is kind of what I did and what I still do with CBS 24/7 Sports.
Yeah.
But I always thought that the radio, podcast, video side was my strength. And this is right now, this is kind of looks like a hobby and see where it goes.
It's
good to have guests like you on.
No, I'm serious. This is your thing. And so we're all appreciative.
I just love getting loose and having a little humor invested in it, not too serious.
I love it.
All right, so we'll see after Minnesota. We'll probably obviously do that podcast at some point because the game's on Thursday, so it's a weird schedule.
Be good.
Like Mac Brown's press conference for the game week was on a Friday. The game's on a Thursday. Then you have a whole slate of games, and the next game is Saturday against Charlotte. Let's talk a little about you. The questions I have. So you came in, you were a Butch Davis.
Yep.
Ooh. Boy, I always get those guys confused. Yeah. They came around at the same time.
All right.
Butch Davis recruit. You played 1 year under Fedora?
I was 2 years under
Fedora. So 2 of your starting year, you started 3 years.
Did.
What was it like under Butch Davis when I feel like UNC was all in on football?
Yep.
Marvin Austin, Robert Quinn, Stud, Greg Little, all these guys in that big LSU game.
Yeah.
What was it like being part of Carolina football during that time when it felt like the university was super invested in football? They had this NFL coach who led Miami to a national championship. What was it like being part of UNC football then?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be very honest. I thought it was the best time we've had. Yeah. And I think I'm old enough to say that. I think it's pretty fair to say that. And obviously I was very close to Butch.
You told me you're still super close.
Very close to the family. And I think there was a variety of different reasons there. I was his first quarterback recruit that he had to university, and at the time, not to toot my own horn, I could have gone anywhere, to be honest with you. And I chose here because of Coach Davis and Coach John Shoup. I thought John Shoup at the time, and I'm going to give him a huge shout out because I do think he was one of the best college offense coordinators that we've ever had here. And I say that because he prepared you every single game. And I'm talking about John Shoup and also Butch Davis. The whole staff did. If you look at that staff, everyone was either previously in the NFL or at a head coach at some point. And that staff was loaded with a lot of different talent. All of our GAs. Josh Gaddis was a GA. He's been offense coordinator and won the Bros.
He was at UNC.
Oh yeah,
Josh
Gaddis, my GA.
Where is he now?
He was
at Miami.
He's
Michigan.
Michigan. He's bounced around a lot of different places, but he was at Alabama at one point.
Yeah.
With Saban, he has a really successful career. I believe he is the offense coordinator at Maryland.
Okay.
The more I think about that, but I do think it was the best time, and I'm talking about the 2009 team, 2010 team, and 2011 team. There was a lot of talent. I mean, we were loaded across the board.
Yeah, dude.
I want to think 7 of the 11 guys on defense got drafted or had an NFL career of 5 or plus years.
Those linebackers were Quan Sturdivant,
Bruce Carter, Zach Brown.
You had the Kendrick Burney,
and Charles Brown on the other side. You had Norris Searcy that played in the NFL.
Searcy was
Deontay Williams, who if he doesn't get hurt against Tennessee and dislocate his foot,
shout out Jeff Finn.
He's going to be a 10-year pro.
Get me jacked. That was a sick defense.
Quinn Coples was on the 3 technique.
Yeah,
we had
the big brands.
Tydreek Powell. Yeah, we had Tydreek Powell, and coming off the edge, you had Rob Quinn, who had 14 and a half sacks as a sophomore.
All pro in the NFL.
Yeah, and didn't play his junior year. He probably is in the Heisman conversation. I'm not saying that lightly. He's the best athlete that's probably come on campus. But so my career was a little bit in half, right? So Butch gets let go and Everett comes in about 6 days before I was about to start. And
so that was your first year starting was Everett Withers' year.
Yep, end of year. So really, it was one of those years where we started off 6-1. And people don't really realize that we were really, really good. And just kind of, once Everett, didn't get the job, it was kind of a different team.
It was a Shreveport bowl game.
Yeah, and we ended up playing Missouri in the bowl game, and it was a challenging year. I'm not gonna lie, Ross. It was a very challenging year, and as a kid, you dream of playing college football, and it was one of those years you're like, holy smokes, I got to grow up really quick.
Yeah, it's like I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah, and then I had ankle surgery. People don't know this. I had ankle surgery right after the bowl game, and then Larry got hired about 4 days after, and we had a meeting in his office, and I'm on crutches, and I'm like looking at my ankle, and I'm like, how the hell am I going to get ready for the season? And they were awesome. I can't say enough great things about Larry and Blake Anderson, Walt Bell, and that whole staff, and Gunnar Brewer. Shout out to Gunnar. I love Gunnar.
Love that guy.
He's at Virginia Tech now, doing great things. And shout out to Keaton too. Keaton's a stud, really good friend. And look, Ross is a champion.
Timmy Smith, welcome in. Come in and get the video here.
Hey.
There
we go.
This
is great. How you doing, man?
Okay.
Good to see you. All right, good to see you, Tim.
It's live podcasting, man. We love this. I think is John still here?
Yeah. He's coming back. Okay,
there he is right there. Okay, continue. All right. Get away now.
I'm a beer after this.
Yeah. No, we're good. We got it stacked up.
Yep.
So you're going through the coach there.
So Larry comes in and shoot, I do think the 2012 team was one of the best teams, and we ended up going 8-4, and so lost our first two and won.
12 was Fedora's first year.
12 was Fedora's first year.
So what was the LSU game?
That was 2010.
Okay.
So Yates that was such a great game, by the way.
And that was with all the suspensions.
Yep, with all the suspensions, and we took them to the wire.
11 was Everett Withers.
11 was Everett. Yep.
Okay. God, that was a weird time in UNC.
It was
because the whole controversy
was insane.
Yeah. Because you're part of like two different eras plus the controversy plus NCAA stuff.
Come in and so,
new president.
Yeah.
Or new chancellor.
New AD. Dick Fedora leaves.
So come in during your time because he hired Fedora. Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, it was the changing of the guard. Through a lot of controversy, and it was like, okay, it was almost like you lost your head coach, you lost the guys who recruited you, and you stayed here, and you're like, oh my gosh, and it was one of those team meetings. I'll never forget it. Kevin Reddick and I stood up and we're like, we're staying here. We're going to make
with Fedora.
Yeah. And we had a decision to make because there was a lot of, everyone was wavering, right? And that's why I love this university, is because we stuck with everybody.
Yeah.
And we committed to a process because it's a brotherhood. And, I get goosebumps that we talked about, plays that I have friends for a lifetime. And I feel like if I would have left or had the transfer portal, I would have never felt like I do now about my career, because it's helped me in my business. It's helped me with my life. It's helped me. It's grown me up. Like,
listen, UNC players, like being at some place for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
You get connections for a lifetime. If you leave after 2 years, you're not gonna have those connections.
Yeah.
Like you have connections with everybody knows your name, and then you have donors. There's so many influential business people with UNC on athletics,
it's the best place
business. And like when you stay 4 years and you play, even if you don't play, but you have this connection with the coaching staff, the athletic department, with donors, boosters, that kind of, oh yeah, this dude was a great player. He helped out. He was a walk-on. Like you're going to have lifetime connections. People don't think about that. And if you go to 3 schools, you're spread so thin. Cormac Ryan's a great example. He probably, because he was pretty good at UNC, but he went Stanford, Notre Dame, basketball guy, and UNC, and he was good last year. He has connections to all places, but these guys that don't play a lot, like, dude, stay at one place, just be a guy, and you'll make connections and friendships with people that will last a lifetime. I think that's super important. I think it's a great point. Go ahead.
And I think one more thing to add is it teaches you life lessons that you need. And I think anybody can go, and I got him stealing this from Tom Brady because he was on Stephen A. And it's a great interview. And he said, college programs teach you things but people run from what they're teaching.
Yeah.
So if your head coach change, okay, well, good. You're going to have to play in a different offense. I went from a pro-style offense to a spread offense.
Yeah.
I'm not a spread quarterback.
Quarterback-friendly offense, though.
They probably wanted Marquise to play because they're like, hey, zone run, Marquise can get more yards than me. Yeah. I know he could because he had a great career after I was done. And, I think that's the biggest thing is you learn. You have to adapt to your certain situation. Not everything's going to be great in your life. But I learned so many core principles and core values of, facing the media and being unhappy as an 18 to 22-year-old kid, but saying, I'm doing this for my boys. And the guy next to me in this university that gave me a scholarship. And people don't understand the value of a scholarship. Can we just talk about that? Like, I didn't have to pay for school.
That's payment.
That's my payment. Like,
yeah.
Sitting here with Ross and he's not, and Tim Smith comes up and we're going to go have a beer.
Good memory.
That's why I stayed, and that's why I got this education. And shoot, I'll speak about that all
the
this.
scholarship is worth a lot. Like your parents don't have to pay for an education, which is worth a good amount of money. I mean, I think not. I think it's as people become parents. I'm not a parent yet. Hope to become a parent sometime. I'm sure
Not
you.
a parent either.
Yeah. But I think not giving up and like not letting kids quit and like sticking with stuff is like, all right, I stuck with it. I went through the 6 months of, middle school baseball. Even though I hated the coach, it was still worth it. We're talking life lessons here, Timmy.
We just give you a shout out too.
Yeah. I think it's an important thing. So, all right. What was it like? Obviously, you had the 1 year with Butch Davis.
Yep.
The 1 year with Everett Withers.
1 year with Everett.
And then 1 year with Fedor.
Yeah.
So I had 3 head coaches?
Well, I had 3 head coaches, 4 strength coaches.
Say it again.
4 strength coaches.
4 strength coaches.
I had three head coaches, 4 strength coaches, and then we had 2 different offenses. So if you guys remember, we were huddling up and really running pro style offense, and then we went to the with speed stuff.
Josh Shoop,
So it was a whole different ball game.
It's funny. What was it like transitioning from a pro style to a spread?
That was very challenging. I'm not going to lie. That first spring.
Break it down.
So, you come from, hey, we're going to hand the ball off, we're going to huddle, and then now you want to go as fast as possible.
Okay.
And so for guys like James Hurst, Jonathan Cooper, Russell Bodine, Cam Holland were our centers, Travis Bond and Brennan Williams, they're 300 pounds. And now you're going no huddle. A 300-pounder to go no huddle is like you're going to lose. I mean, we lost so much weight in the spring because we had to understand the speed and pace that they wanted to play with.
Did they lose weight because they had to, or because they knew they had to go fast?
Knew we had to go fast.
Okay, so like I gotta be a little quicker. Okay,
and those guys will tell you it was probably the most challenging spring because we didn't understand the speed. I'll give Larry credit because he really was patient with us. And the way we ran our practice was fast. Everything was fast with Larry. It was smart, fast, and physical was his mantra. And I saw him at Nick Weiler's wedding, and we actually sat down and had a beverage. And the first time I saw him in a while, and he kind of broke it down on why he did that and why it was so challenging because we ended up scoring more points. We scored 50 a game. Yeah. Scored 63 against Georgia Tech.
This was great, man.
And so we really had the most production. It was one of the most fun years of my life because we played fast. We understood the offense, but it took us a while.
Who was you had Eric Ebron.
Eric Ebron was a stud
back that year.
Eric was a sophomore. We had Gio, Romar, and AJ Blue. Okay. And then on the outside, we had Eric Highsmith, Jahirney Boyd. We had those were our 2 go-to guys. Quinshot Davis was a freshman.
Oh yeah,
and so Quinshot had a big year, and we spread it around. Jack Tab was a great tight end, and really, he had 400 yards that year, and Eric had like 800.
Fedor was kind of blessed there with you staying and having Gio and Eric, and this is before the transfer thing too. You got to realize that like it was harder to transfer.
Yeah,
you had to sit out a year.
Yeah, exactly, and that was one of those come to Jesus moments we had as a team. It's like if you want to leave, you're gonna have to sit. Yeah. And we've all been waiting for that opportunity, and that's kind of what I go back to this team. Yeah. Max Johnson has something to prove. I know what that means. And Amarion wants to be an NFL top running back. So those kids are going to play out of their minds because they have something to prove. So I think there's something to be said for that.
This offensive line who like one start.
Yeah.
So everybody there is like, I want to prove myself because I haven't done it before.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, that thing back to that 12 year, and that was the Punt to Gio year. We were talking about it earlier. Yeah. Goosebumps.
What's crazy is we went 8-4 and won the ACC Coastal Division, but we got bowl banned and could not play Florida State. And that was probably the most disheartening thing because we reeled off 6 wins in a row. And because we didn't start off very well because Gio missed the first 2 games. And we, didn't have an identity offensively. And that was our first time playing with Larry.
Yeah.
And so we were 0-2 and everybody's like, oh gosh, we're going to, not play very well. And we ended up winning the Coastal.
And so it was
he won it twice, 15 and 12.
And so we don't get credit for that year, but I'll take credit, and the boys know.
And I'll say this about Larry. Like, I covered Larry from 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 17, 18 with Bleak. But, like, people clown him for being this, like, Red Bull, jacked up, kind of like football guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's a good dude.
Great guy.
Like,
phenomenal.
He always would talk to me if I see him out, at a restaurant or around town.
Yeah.
Every player that played for him loves him. He's been at weddings, at Jeff Schottmer's high school.
Yep.
Hall of Fame kind of thing. Like, he's a good, like, people always talk about how good of a dude Larry Fedora was and is.
Yep.
And he did not have quarterbacks in 17 and 18.
Yeah.
And it kind of, if you don't win and you go, 9 losses, 10 losses, or whatever it was, like, it's kind of like you got to have to make a move because he just didn't have quarterbacks.
Sure.
And it's all it came down to. And you see now, Mac.
Yep.
He had Sam Howell and he had Drake May, both guys who could probably start. Drake May's probably going to start at some point this year. And I bet Sam Howell starts some games this year. And now you got a team now in 2024 with a quarterback room. There's probably not an NFL starter on the roster.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, Mac Brown has been blessed by having 2 stud in-state Charlotte quarterbacks, and we'll see what he does without that because Mac Brown's got lucky with that.
He has.
And it's credit to his recruiting.
Sure.
Credit to guys that brought those guys in. I think it helped that Drake May's dad played here and obviously and stuff. But I think it's going to be a big test this year for Mac Brown. But they have a in-state running back. It tells you how important getting the studs from the state is.
It really is.
Man, I think we touched on a lot of good stuff.
It's great.
I think we're going to have you on every Monday.
I love it.
30 minutes, keep, not too much before the Monday Night Football. Appreciate you. Shout out to He's Not. Let's get the cups here.
Cheers.
Shout out to our crowd here. We got a bunch of students watching. We got a bunch of grad students watching. We got Tim and John watching.
Yeah.
Our unofficial sponsor, He Is Not. And we appreciate you listening to the Big Hitters podcast. I got to get this out. Subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe on Spotify and Apple. 5 stars. Leave a review. I'm working really hard to kind of bring good guests on, good insight, a little bit different, a little looser, people that can be honest with this. And we're going to kind of keep this going as a good insight into UNC sports. And we're getting some off-topic stuff as well. So stay tuned to that. We'll talk to you next time after the Minnesota game on Thursday night with a reaction podcast.